All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning to all of you guys. We went pretty late last night. We went about, I want to say we went to about 3 or 4 in the morning last night. We're already up, already showered, already kind of ready to go. I apologize for being about 10 minutes late. I was trying to get some last minute things done here before I went live on this. And we're going to go over guys to start, guys to sit. We are 80 minutes away from kickoff, about 80 minutes away. And so I'm going to talk about guys that I would start, guys I would sit. Now there's going to be some guys that I'm going to tell you that I would sit. It's going to be on the sit list that I would tell individual people to start depending on their circumstances. Okay, so just because I have them as a sit, I would say, just in general, I would say I don't think this guy, you know, if they're on the sit list, it's going to be a guy that I'm not really too high on this week. And aside from that, though, like somebody like Marquise Brown right here, who I have, I'm going to tell you to sit that guy this week. But depending on your roster, you may have to start him depending on who you have. So I have a lot of guys on here. I don't have everybody, but you know, of the guys that I do not have, of the guys that I do not have on here, I will go over individually. I may even put them on here as well. So let's get into it here. Let's start off with, I'm going to start off with some guys from the top. We got Brian Robinson today, Commanders, running back here. See how much time he gets. I'm hoping I think he's a pretty safe option this week for the most part. I know Gibson's in the backfield with him. I'm gonna say, without a doubt, I'm gonna try to make him a little smaller. Without a doubt, you start Brian Robinson today at like your flex spot. Obviously it depends who else you got kind of at your flex. He could be your RB1 or RB2 too as well, depending on like I said, who's in your roster. But if I had him on my team, I would probably want to start him, you know, depending on who else I had. Especially if it's like half PPR. Full PPR, we could maybe have another conversation with like, you know, if you had other receivers. But half PPR, it's definitely. Looks like Marquise Brown, who I just put on here, he's upgraded to fully healthy. He's ready to go. He's going to play. This is in the same game against Washington. I'm going to put him over here on the sit list, so I would say let's sit this guy this week. I wouldn't be playing him if he was on my team. All right, next up here, Raheem Mostert against the Chargers. The Chargers have one of the worst defenses in the league. As far as running goes last year, they were giving up over 5.5 yards per carry last year. They were giving up a lot of yards after contact last year as well. They're going to try to, I think they're mostly going to be trying to sell out to stop Waddle, stop Tyreek Hill. I think Mostert could have a good day here. I heard that A-Chain's going to be a healthy scratch, so he's going to have Ahmed behind him. Not really worried about Ahmed, so let's put Mostert over here. Mostert to start. Let's see here. Let's go Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, you guys know me. Start this guy. I'm not changing my opinion on him whatsoever. Start Jahan Dotson. Let's put Dotson up here. Gotta lock this in. Hold on a second. I'm locking my board. Here we go. Yeah, so Dotson, lock him in. Put him up there. Mostert. All right. Our next guy. Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is going to be starting in for Mark Andrews. I would say if you don't have a better option at tight end, start him. If you had Mark Andrews on your team, start him. You know, pick him up, put Mark Andrews on the IR spot or something, or leave him on your bench. Start Isaiah Likely. This one's pretty easy for me, to be honest. Now there are other options, but definitely if you're a Mark Andrews owner, this is without a doubt you start Isaiah Likely this week. J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins. I would say start him. I would say start him. He's a guy who I feel like you kind of just have to start because you probably drafted him in the 5th round. You probably don't have a whole lot of options after him at running back. I do worry about his matchup, but I would say you're going to have to start him if you are an owner of him. So I will say though, I don't like him. I will say I don't like him this week. I think this backfield is going to be a little bit of a committee backfield, a little bit more so than people think. I know that they were saying, oh, no limitations, this and that, but I would not really, you know what? Let's put him on the sit list. Because if I'm being honest, if he was like on my team, which if you guys aren't familiar, this is my team right here. Like I have Chubb, Mixon, I have Walker, I have Breece Hall. Let's say I didn't have Breece Hall and I had Dobbins instead of Breece Hall, and I still have Walker and Mixon and Chubb. I would still not start him. Like he would be sitting right here where Breece Hall is. So that's the only reason why I say that. So I'm gonna put him on the sit list. Yeah, put him over here. If you have him on your team, though, if you rostered him, you drafted him, you're gonna have to start him. If you spent like a 5th round draft pick on him. Christian Kirk. I'm going to sit Christian Kirk this week as well. Christian Kirk is going on the sit list. I just feel like there would be better options out there. And like, we're talking about a flex position here. If he is your wide receiver 2 on your team, you drop the ball during the draft. He should be at least a 3rd option or a 4th option on your team. There's other guys that I like other than him. Like, you know, I would probably take, a couple of these running backs like Pierce over him. I would take a London over him. I would take Cortland Sutton over him. I would probably take Mike Williams over him this week, even though I'm not big on Mike Williams. Speaking of Mike Williams, we're going to put him over here in the start category. And the reason why he's in the start category... The reason why he's in the start category is because he's playing for the Chargers, and the Chargers have a 27-point total. I think it's tied for 2nd highest with the Ravens this week, and he's just on a better offense as far as the projections are, accounting him for. So you would have to start him, I think. I'm not a big fan of him. I don't really own him in any of my leagues, But if you did spend a 4th round pick on him, which you probably did, you got to start him this week, no matter what. Same thing with Keenan Allen. You have to start Keenan Allen. This shouldn't really be debatable. You know, you guys shouldn't really be debating this. Let's get him up front here so you can see his face. Najee Harris. I'm going to tell you guys to sit Najee Harris this week, okay? Like, Najee Harris would be a sit for me. If he was on my team, he would be a sit. He has a tough matchup against a very, very good 49ers defense here at home. He's got Warren breathing down his neck. We just got a notification talking about him and Warren splitting carries today. So I'm gonna sit him if he's on my team. You know, I'm pretty high on Najee. I like Najee. I think he's a good player. I think he has a bounce back season this year for the most part, but that's going to be a little bit hindered by Warren kind of breathing down his neck. If you have Najee Harris, I'm going to say this right now because a lot of people are going to come at me about my Najee Harris take earlier in the year. If you have Najee Harris, you have to go get Jaylen Warren right now, or you should have already gotten him. You should have already gotten him. And really, I know I'm a little late with this information about not telling you guys this, but I mean, I was kind of telling you guys a couple of weeks ago, but you should have known after the first preseason game that you needed to go get Warren. Warren's going to be more of a factor in this offense. He's going to catch the ball. He's a good change of pace back. He also is a little bit more efficient than what Najee was last year on top of that, and he had a pretty good preseason. You should have gotten Jaylen Warren if you were a Najee Harris owner. I don't have Najee on this team. I don't have him on any of my teams other than the best ball leagues. But like, I don't have him. But if I had Najee on this team right here, instead of like Mixon, let's say I had Najee, I would have gotten Warren. I think Warren is the most important handcuff running back of this year. I think he's one of the most important. Like, he's a top 3 handcuff in fantasy football this year. So that's what I would say to you guys. Treylon Burks. I'm gonna sit Treylon Burks. I think this is tough. Depending on who you got, you could start him at flex, but I'm going to sit him. I'm gonna sit him this week. If it was me, if it was my roster, I would sit him. Yeah, like I said, depending on who you are, you may start him at your flex, depending on what you have to choose from. Dameon Pierce. I'm gonna start Dameon Pierce. Pierce has a bad matchup, obviously, against the Ravens. I do think the Ravens are going to be a little bit more vulnerable in the passing game than they would be the rushing game. I think Dameon Pierce is still going to get a ton of touches. I think he's going to get about 15 plus touches this week today. So he's in line for a larger role, even though he doesn't have the greatest matchup, and even though they are 9.5, 10-point underdogs, which doesn't fare well for him in case they abandon the run. But I don't think they will. I think they're gonna. I really think the Texans cover this game, to be honest. I know they're 9.5, 10-point dogs, but I think they cover, and I actually think they can keep this close a little bit longer than what people think. I think they keep it close in the first half. So the second half, I think the Ravens kind of pull away a little bit, but I still think the Texans could cover. I think there's a good chance. So Brandon Ayuk, I'm going to sit Brandon Ayuk this week if it was me, obviously. He's got a tough matchup, man, against that Steelers secondary. Really, I'm not looking to start, I'm going to throw him over here too. I'm going to throw Pickens over here as well. I'm not starting Pickens this week either at flex. I'm looking for another option. In just about all of these guys that are in that game, the Steelers and the Niners game. I think it's going to be a brawl. I do think the Steelers will pull the upset. I think it's going to be very close, tight, contested, close game, down to the wire at the end of the fourth quarter. And I think it's going to be a defensive game for the most part. So I'm gonna sit Ayuk and Pickens. Judy, I'm sitting Judy. I don't know if Judy's even going to play in this game. I don't think he will. I don't know. He might play. I'm still sitting him. He's still dealing with that injury, guys. He's dealing with that injury, and no matter what, you know, I don't know if there's been really any reports lately, recently about Jeudy's status up in the air, but I'm not starting a guy who is injured that may or may not be ready to go, but you know, maybe they throw him out there because at the end of the day, I'm like on the wrong channel here. I don't know why it's on ESPN News. Here we go. Yeah. So Jeudy, I'm sitting this week, man. I'm not playing him. I'm hoping you have like 2 better receivers than him. And if we're talking about a flex play, it's possible, but I'm staying away, man. I'm staying away. Kenneth Walker, this one's easy. I don't even really know why I have him up here. He's a start. If you don't start Kenneth Walker, I don't know what to tell you. I got Kenneth Walker in really both of my teams here on this one and my redraft. I'm starting Kenneth Walker at the flex. I do have Mixon and Chubb obviously ahead of him, but that's why we have a flex. You know, I can start 3 running backs. It's really not, you know, this is half PPR, so it's not really, I wouldn't advise people to start 3 running backs, but in half PPR, you know, as long as it's not full PPR and as long as you know, if you could get away with it in full PPR if you had a couple like really like guys that catch the ball a lot, but in half PPR it's okay. Cam Akers, I would start. I think this isn't the greatest matchup for him, and I don't think he's going to have quite as good a game as what people think he could have, but he is, you know, he should be a little bit of a focal point for this offense a little bit, I think, today. So, Zay Flowers, I'm starting Zay Flowers as well. There's going to be no Andrews out there, so this could increase a little bit more opportunities for Zay Flowers. I know he's got Odell and Bateman ahead of him in the pecking order, but I would take a chance. He's not. I don't love him, but I would start him depending on my team. I guess depends on who I had on my roster. There's certain guys I wouldn't start him over. I wouldn't start him over like a Jahan Dotson. I wouldn't start him over a Kenneth Walker, you know, guys of that nature. Even Brian Robinson, I probably wouldn't start him over him either. And really Mike Williams, I probably wouldn't start him over Mike Williams. But if you don't have quite as much depth at the flex spot and you are hurting at the flex spot, I would start Flowers. I would take a chance. JSN is a no-go for me. He is a no-go for me this week. I know they're saying he's no limitations this week. I think they're going to ease him into action, dude, coming off of his injury. I think they're going to ease him into action. He is a third receiver. He's gonna only really be on the field in the 3 receiver sets unless an injury occurs in the game. I think Seattle's gonna run it down the Rams' throat today. They're gonna try to establish the run often and early. That's why I'm so high on Walker. And so JSN, I like him, but he's a sit for me this week. London, I'm starting London. I am starting London. This really, he's not the greatest play. He is a flex play. London is a flex play this week. I don't really think he's a wide receiver 2. It really depends on your roster, though. Like I said, if you have him as your wide receiver 2, then you have to start him. If you got 2 guys in front of him, which I would hope that you would, you know, he's a viable option at the flex spot, but there are certain names I would probably take over him that are also in this the start column right here. So just keep that in mind. But he's a decent option. I like him better than Kyle Pitts today, if I'm being honest. So we'll see. But like I said, there's certain guys that I wouldn't take him over that are in this list. Musgrave, let's get Musgrave out of the way. Musgrave is a start. Must start, especially if you're hurting at tight end. If you have a tight end that's better than him, like a Hawkinson, you know, maybe you don't roll the dice on that. If you have, you know, if you have, I'm trying to think here. If you have like a Pat Freiermuth, I don't know if I would start him over Pat Freiermuth, somebody like that, or even Njoku. But if you have thrift store tight ends, he is a guy I would start today. Mike Thomas, we're gonna put Mike Thomas over here. He's a sit for me this week. I think a guy who really, you know, I just don't love this matchup for him. You could see Lattimore a lot today, or not Lattimore. He could see, I forget the guy's name. Tennessee has a decent defense though, but he's gonna have Olave. He's gonna have Jawan Johnson to compete with targets. I think Taysom Hill actually could have a decent day today. I think Taysom Hill could be like, I'm not super high on Taysom Hill. We don't know which week it's gonna be that he just blows up, but Taysom Hill could be, this could be the week where maybe he actually does something pretty significant and he ends up being, you know, a waiver wire guy, because he's really not on a whole lot of teams, to be honest. So we'll see though. We'll see what Taysom Hill does. Mike Evans is a start for me. You have to start Mike Evans. I really don't even know why I have Mike Evans up here. This is kind of a no-brainer. This is kind of a no-brainer to me. So, but I'm starting him, obviously. We are starting him. Terry McLaurin. I'm going to say you have to start Terry McLaurin. If you own him, you probably have to start him, okay? You probably spent a little bit too much draft capital on him to sit him at this point. I don't like him this week. I like Dotson a lot better, who's his counterpart. And you know, both guys I think could have decent days, but if I'm being honest, I don't like him this week. I don't like him because I don't like that he had the turf toe. We don't know really the severity of it. It must not be too bad, or I don't think he would be playing. But at the same time, I think Dotson's going to have a better day, and so I would stay away from it. It's a low point total. It's a low point total in this game. So McLaurin, I would probably sit, but I would say you have to start him. I would say you have to start him if you have him on your, especially if he's your wide receiver too. Joshua says, yo, what's going on, Josh? We are getting through most of our names here on the sit start. Miles Sanders is a start. You have to start this guy this week. At least at a flex spot. I would assume he's an RB2 on most people's rosters, whoever drafted him. I don't really have him, so I'm in a little bit of a different boat, but I would tell you to start him. I would say you have to start him. You probably spent a 4th or a 5th round grade, a draft capital on Miles Sanders. I would say you have to start him this week. Cordell Patterson is inactive today. If you have Bijan today, he's going to go nuts for you. This is a big week for Bijan. Bijan's going to basically prove me right and a bunch of other people right on why we drafted him #1 overall. I drafted Bijan #1 overall in my redraft. Of course, in that draft, we have double points for out of position scoring, so a running back who can catch a touchdown pass is very, very good in this league. So I'm hoping Bijan actually catches one, really more so than running one in. My team would be more beneficial from it. But Bijan is going to have a huge day today. I am calling it. I would be shocked if he doesn't go for like $120. I'm going to say he goes for like $120 and a score. So, but today is the day where he proves me right here for making this pick right here. So today is the day. I think he has a huge day. All right, let's get to our last few names. Courtland Sutton. I'm starting Courtland Sutton if I have him on my roster. I think he is a good play today. I do have him on this roster right here. The problem is I'm not starting him, and the reason why I'm not starting him is because I just have better players. So, like, I have Courtland Sutton right here on this roster. He is he's down here. and I actually have Zay Jones as well. The reason why I'm not starting him is because I have Dotson, I have Wilson, and I have Smith. I can't start him over these 3 guys. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't start Sutton. If you don't have like a lineup like this with these 3 guys ahead of him, then I would start him. But I think he's a good start this week, especially if Judy doesn't play. Really, even if Judy does play, I'm not too worried about him, because I think there's a good chance that Judy maybe ends up leaving the game early or something. Like, remember, Judy's been dealing with this injury for a few weeks now. So Rachaad White, he is a start depending on your lineup. Okay, I would say start him for the most part, but there are scenarios where I would sit him down. I would sit him depending on, like, if I had a Dotson, if I had a if we're talking between him and Pierce, I would say give me Pierce, because I think Pierce is going to get more work. So Javonte, we're sitting Javonte. I don't know why people are so high on Javonte this week. He's gonna be so limited this week. I'm telling you right now, if you start Javonte and you got some other players that are like around his ADP or even maybe better than him, you're gonna regret it. So sitting Javonte, and with Kyle Pitts, I'm gonna sit Kyle Pitts. Obviously, if he's your starting tight end, you're gonna start him. But if you have 2 options at tight end, I would sit him. I would probably take the latter this week. I don't know. I mean, I don't like Pitts too much. This is a decent matchup. We'll see how much they throw him the ball. But if you have like if you had a Goddard and Pitts, or if you had Freiermuth and Pitts, if you had Njoku and Pitts on your team, I would take all 3 of those guys over Pitts. Let's just put it that way. If Pitts is your starting tight end, then yes, you have to start him. So, you know, it is what it is. But I don't like him that much. He picked up Gerald Everett. I knew he would pick up Everett. I just had a guy pick up Gerald Everett in my league. I thought he would because he had Andrews on his team. So look, this is my start. This is my sit. I don't have every player on here. We're going to get some more players on here for next week. Like all the guys that are kind of in that flex category, or, you know, tight ends and stuff. I don't have any quarterbacks on here. I would just, if you guys have any questions about quarterbacks, just ask me. I mean, there's not very many quarterbacks out there compared to like these flex options. So those would be pretty easy to go over for the most part. Defenses, I would start the best defenses to start this week if you have a defense in your league. I think Philly's a good option. I think the Saints are a pretty good option. I think the Ravens could be okay. And then and I really think Jacksonville could be pretty good as well. Jacksonville's defense kind of sucks. They're really not that good, but they're pretty good in fantasy, if that makes any sense. So, and then I mean, you got some other notable defenses out there, like the Seahawks, who could maybe have a decent game. Washington could have a pretty good game as well, even though they're minus Chase Young on the defensive line. So those would be kind of like my streaming options for defense. You know, the really good defenses like the Jets, like you know, the Packers are pretty good. Even the Patriots have a pretty good defense. They got kind of tough offensive matchups this week. You know, they're not playing the easiest teams this week, so you know, a good streaming option like the Seahawks, or you know, the Commanders, or really even the even Denver, maybe. You know, Denver could be a good option as well this week against the Raiders. So these are my start guys. These are my sit guys. Like I said, there's certain guys that you could start that are in the sit column depending on your options, and vice versa for the start guys. So just keep that in mind. But if I was going based off if I had different options and I had multiple options at flex, and you know, of my choosing, these are guys that I would start, and these are guys that I would sit. So if you guys have any questions, I will take questions from now pretty much until kickoff. Now until kickoff, if there's any questions. I know there's other people that are doing you know, start sit live streams and stuff, and so, but I'm here if you guys need me. I think waiver wire, some of the top, let me see what some of the top waiver wire guys could be this week. I know we haven't really talked about waiver wire. There's gonna be, I'm trying to get ahead of the curve here. I'm gonna tell you guys, like, of guys that are out there that are gonna be good waiver wire pickups. Likely he's gonna be a candidate if he has a good game. Of course, there's gonna be some question marks depending on if Mark Andrews is coming back next week, which he probably will be. I already got ahead of the curve on Jayden Reed. I think Reed is gonna be a top waiver option this week. I think he ends up having a pretty good game. Van Jefferson could be one of those guys as well. He's pretty much in the pecking order here. Wish I could hide the chat. Can I hide this chat? No, whatever. All right, so these are all the trending guys right now. You got trending down, trending up. I think Juwan Johnson is a guy who's out there that he's on my roster right now, but he's a guy who could, like, if you were in need of a tight end, I think he has a pretty good game this week, if I'm being honest. You got Musgrave that's out there right now. You guys should be grabbing Musgrave right now if you need a tight end, or Juwan Johnson if you need a tight end. These guys are both in the top 11 right now. They're rostered in my league. This guy has them in my league. I have Juwan Johnson. I guess Ferguson's right here too. I'm not really as high on Ferguson. Deion Jackson's going to be a guy who's out there. I think Nico, I don't know why Nico's in the top 16. Somebody should own Nico. Nico's a guy that I would maybe look into too, as well as for waiver guys. He could be up there on top of the list as well, after the week is over. So everybody else though, I'm trying to think, like, if Warren's out there for some reason, Warren's going to be a guy. I don't really see Warren out here. I think Warren's rostered in most leagues. He should be, obviously, but Moser is a guy who's kind of out there. I don't know why he's out there. That's crazy. He's out there. He's ranked 22nd. He should be on most rosters too. Mims could also be a guy, and see, Mims is rostered in my league. Like, in my league, dude, I have killers, so there's not a whole lot of guys that, like, are out there on the waiver that's like, oh my god, that guy could be good after the week's over. Well, he's already rostered in my league. So I'm gonna try to pick out, I'm gonna definitely pick out some guys tonight. If we do a live stream tonight, which I probably will. I don't know how long I'll go for tonight. I'll probably go for like an hour and a half tonight, not too long. We'll go over some waiver wire guys for Tuesday, or really Wednesdays, whenever they kick in, Wednesday morning. And so I'm trying to get you guys ahead of the curve here though on some of these guys. I think Reed is one of the bigger guys out there who isn't really rostered in a lot of leagues that I would roster like now, if you can afford to drop somebody. Like, I dropped Juju for him, and I really don't feel the slightest bit bad about dropping Juju. I'm not super high on Juju. I took Juju for like $1 at the end of the draft. I thought about taking Reed. The only problem was I was worried about, I didn't know if he was going to play too much with, being the third string guy, or really not third string, but being the third receiver in line. And then what happened was Christian Watson was ruled out, and I was like, okay, I got to go get this guy before it's too late, because I think he will be being bid on, at least in my our fab system for waiver wire come Wednesday. And I don't want to bid on the guy when I can just get him right now. I have him a ton in my best ball leagues. I know I'm probably more educated on him than just about anybody in my league. So I'm going to get ahead of the curve and draft him, or roster him before it's too late. So let's see here. Let's go back to our start sit board here. I do have Fantasy Football Live on the other screen here, kind of looking at what they're talking about, looking at their rankings. We got Garrett Wilson ranked 7th this week, wide receivers. Obviously, all the big name guys that I don't have on here, like, they should be starting. You know what I mean? You spent a really, you spent like a top, like fourth round, third round, second round, first round. If you spend one of the, like, you have to start the guys. Obviously, I'm not going to go over those guys too much. And you know, if you ask me a question about them, I'm going to tell you guys to start them. Obviously, you're going to have to. You spent the draft capital on them for a reason. And that reason was not to put them on your bench week 1. So let's talk about guys that I guess could break out or really have like a big week this week. I think Bijan's on that list. I think Chubb's on the list at running back. I think guys that you might be a little bit disappointed in are going to be like McCaffrey. I think Eckler should be okay this week. Let's see here. DJ, what's up, DJ? Struggling, pick one flex. James Cook is full PPR. James Cook, Herbert, DeAndre Hopkins, Lattimore on Hopkins all game scares me. Full PPR. This is a tough one, man. Hopkins is out, okay? Like, Hopkins is, I'm not even considering Hopkins at this. He's not out. He's gonna play. I mean, like, he's out as far as like on my list to really kind of start. I don't have him up here. I would say give me James Cook, man. It's close though. It's close between him and Herbert, but give me Cook. Give me the receiving upside with Cook if it's full PPR. You know what I mean? So A game Grizzo says Deontay Johnson, Dotson, or Mostert PPR. Oh, you can't start like 2 of them. You're only starting one of these guys. You have a loaded team. Give me Dotson, dude. It's close between Dotson and Mostert. I would take Dotson and Mostert over Deontay this week. Deontay's got the 49ers. Dotson's got a pretty prime matchup. I know people are worried about McLaurin. Okay, people are worried about McLaurin playing this this week. I think it's good that McLaurin's playing. I actually think it's better that he's playing versus him not playing, because I think Dotson is a solid number 2 receiver in the pecking order, and it's going to help that McLaurin is on the other side of the field, drawing more attention. I think Dotson's going to have a prime week this week. Okay, I don't even care about McLaurin being in the starting line. If anything, I think it helps him. Mostert is a good play as well. If I had to pick though, especially if it's full PPR, give me the receiver who's going to catch the ball. Mostert's not going to really catch too many balls today. He's more of a ground and pound kind of guy. So, and then you know, Deontay kind of has a bad matchup. I do like Deontay a lot though. I almost wish I could start 2 of these guys, to be honest. But if you're picking between these 3 players at your flex, that means you have a really good roster. So you should be good either way, man. You get Smith and St. Brown. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give me Jahan Dotson, dude. He's got a prime matchup. Like I said, I'm not worried about McLaurin at all. Cubanito says Jawan or Likely. I got Jawan, man. I would take Jawan. Jawan is my starting tight end for my auction league. I wouldn't knock Likely if you took him, but Likely's got some competition, man. And so does Jawan, but Jawan's a better tight end. I'm just going to be honest. Jawan's a better tight end at this point. Likely could be a better tight end here in like a year or 2, but Jawan is going to get peppered with targets, I think. I think Kupp's going to throw him the ball quite a bit, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be a ton, but it's going to be more so than Likely. Likely's competing with Flowers, Odell, Bateman. You know, you're going to have Dobbins and Lamar probably running the ball a little bit. So Appreciate it. Yeah. No problem, man. I'm telling you, I love Dotson this week. Dotson is a... I would be shocked if Dotson had a bad game. I'm not saying he's going to have the best game. I'm hoping he pops off for about 20 points. You know, 80 yards and a touchdown is what I've been saying. 80 yards and a touchdown will take. I would be shocked, though, if he had, like, a... terrible game. Like, where he just went for 20 yards... 2 catches and just nothing. You know, I'd be shocked if it was a quiet game for him, to be honest. So, give me Jahan Dotson, dude. I love Dotson. Like, this is a prime matchup for Dotson. So, and I think it's good that Terry's playing, to be honest. I think it's good because he's gonna draw more attention. Dotson's just, it's just gonna help Dotson get open even more, in my opinion. So, I think Dotson is he's a guy who's a wide receiver 2 on his team that really could be a wide receiver 1. Let's just put it that way. So, any more questions you guys have? Any more questions you guys have? Like I said, I don't have all of my guys up here. I don't have all the, so if there's a guy up here that you don't see that you're wondering about, just ask me. Next week, I'll get like all of these guys on here. I might have to get like, I might have to make him a little smaller, man, because I don't have a whole lot of room here, to be honest. I don't have any quarterbacks on here, so if you have a quarterback question, ask me. I know some people could have 2 quarterbacks on their team, especially if they went like late quarterback. They could have like a Kirk Cousins and a Daniel Jones, and you could kind of be up in the air about who to start this week. Full PPR, Khalil Herbert, Addison, or Burks at the flex. Give me Addison, dude. Give me Addison. I'm gonna lean the receiver over the running back in full PPR, unless that running back is like known for catching passes, which Herbert's not really known for catching passes. He is more of a between the tackle kind of guy. You know, I know he caught that screen and took it to the house in the preseason. But Addison is in a like heavy pass offense, and he's gonna be the number 3 guy behind Hawkinson and JJ. But they're gonna throw the ball so much that it's not gonna matter. I think he's gonna get himself a good 4 to 5 catches today, and he could potentially score, and he could probably get you about 50 yards or more. So there's a good chance he gets you about 8 to 12 points. So give me Addison. Herbert's got a decent matchup. I mean, you know, the Packers are pretty good on defense. We'll see. But it's not the best matchup. I think all the pass catchers for the Vikings all have pretty good matchups today. So, I mean, Tampa Bay's defense isn't very good. It's not the same defense from the Super Bowl a few years ago. So, yeah, they're talking about Addison right now on fantasy football now. They're saying he's projected for like 9.4 points. Like I said, 8 to 12 points is about what I think he'll get you today, with a chance to get you about 15 if he scores a touchdown. So, and I think there is a chance that he scores a touchdown. Tampa Bay is going to be doing everything in their power to try to stop JJ today, I would reckon. So Addison, look, they went out and got Addison for a reason. They needed a guy who could win man coverage one-on-one because of all the attention that JJ is going to get, and really even Hawkinson over the middle. That's why they went and got Addison. Addison is a man beater. He will beat man coverage. He was one of the best wide receivers in the draft at beating man coverage, and that's why they drafted him. So they needed another guy on the other side of JJ. And Addison is a first-round talent. Like, it's not like this is some guy they took in the 3rd round or the 4th round. This guy was drafted. I'm not saying he's as good as JJ, because he's obviously not as good as JJ, but he was drafted damn near the same spot JJ was drafted whenever he was drafted in the 1st round. So this isn't like some dude off the street that we don't know like how good he is. Addison is a good player. He can beat man coverage. He can torch corners in man coverage, and that's why they went and got him. Because he's able to do that with his skill set, and he's got JJ on the other side, and they needed another guy that Cousins could rely on You know, like if JJ seeing double teams the whole game. So give me Addison in that scenario, man. I don't really like Burks at all. Burks is on the sit. Burks could have a better game than Hopkins ago. I will say he could have a better game than DeAndre Hopkins. The Saints have a really good secondary. They've really always have had a pretty good defense for the last like decade. And I don't think like give me Cousins throwing the ball to Addison versus Tannehill throwing the ball to anybody. You know, especially against that defense, man. That defense could make Kirk Cousins, or not Kirk Cousins. The Saints defense could make Tannehill look really, really bad today. So, I mean, we already know he's not that good, but they could really give Mike Vrabel a, you know, a reason to like put Malik Willis in at quarterback today, to be honest. So, we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. We're about 35 minutes away from kickoff, man. I cannot wait. I feel like this is like the Super Bowl, dude. Like, we've been waiting for this day for 7 months now. 7 months or so since the Super Bowl ended. And so, I'm so excited, man. So excited. I'll probably go live after the Sunday night football game. Talk a little bit about just like what we've seen. Recap everything. Talk about players that we either hit or missed on as far as predictions. Like I said, some of these guys don't take it, you know, to heart. There's some guys that are in the sitcom that I would start depending on your roster. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But if I had like my option at like some of these other guys in the start column, yeah, I would take them over. Obviously these guys that are in the sit column. So. See if we got any more see if we got any more news here. Doesn't really look like it for the most part. I'm sure we'll get some. We already know Andrews is out. We know that Kittle's gonna play. I would caution Kittle. Like, Kittle's one of those guys, like, I would probably start Musgrave over him this week. I would probably start maybe Juwan Johnson maybe as well. I know people are going to think that's crazy, but I think I would. I think I would start somebody like a Musgrave, somebody like a Juwan Johnson over Kittle this week, if I'm being honest. I know, you know, we know he's been dealing with the groin injury, which is not a good injury for a guy to be dealing with. But, you know what I'm saying? And I know people are like, oh, you're crazy. Like, we'll see, man. I don't know. There's a possibility that they outscore him today. The possibility he doesn't have the easiest matchup. So we're going to find out early because they do play at noon. So we will find out early. All right, guys, I'm going to get off here. I know we got 30 minutes left. It doesn't seem like we got a lot of people in here right now. So I'm glad I answered, you know, the questions you guys had for me for the most part. You know, I know it wasn't too many questions, but hey, man, whatever you guys need help with. If you guys have a question, I'm going to get off here in like 3 minutes. If you guys have a question before game time, you need to send me a message in my chat for this video or one of my other videos. You need to ask me immediately before noon, because after noon, I can't really help you guys if it's locked in. You know what I mean? So send a comment in this video if you have a question before kickoff, if you guys have any questions about starting a guy. If the game doesn't start till 3:30 Central Time, then obviously let me know before 3:30 and I will let you know. So with that being said, man, I am out of here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out. You know, we're working towards 1,000 subscribers here on the channel. We'll probably do a Madden stream at some point in time, maybe like Monday or Tuesday or something like that, or maybe Wednesday, who knows, it might be a minute. And then leave a like on the video as well. I would really appreciate that if you guys did. It helps me break YouTube's algorithm and get my video out to more people, so I would really appreciate that. I am out of here. We'll catch you guys tonight after the games. Enjoy the games. I'm gonna probably be watching like Red Zone for the most part. We might tune into one of the games on Fox or CBS, depending on you know, who's playing. So I will catch you guys later though, tonight, probably after Sunday Night Football. Peace out. Remember, if you guys have a question, put it in the comments below before kickoff. Okay? I am out of here. You guys have a good one. If you have a question, quickly ask it. I'm getting ready to get off, so if you have a question, ask me right now and I'll answer it.